Hello everyone and welcome to this setup and installation lecture. Before we get started, I wanted to note that there are many options for choosing your development environment. But in this course, we are going to be using PyCharm or the PyCharm text editor. I wasn't sure if initially we should just use Sublime, as this is commonly used and is much easier to install. But I think that PyCharm is probably just too good to skip over, and it does offer a massive insight into its use. So if you're experienced with another IDE, feel free to use that. Maybe you already have a lot of experience in Sublime or Atom, and that's totally okay. Just follow along, and you can probably skip past this lecture. But I still highly recommend that you try out PyCharm and following the tutorials that I first showed you when it's installed, as PyCharm does force best practices with PEP standards. And I've learned to really enjoy it with various different development jobs. And it automates a lot of very difficult tasks, basically saving you a huge amount of time during your development within different projects. So, as I've said, I'd probably recommend trying to use PyCharm, even just for this course, just to see what you think of it, and to maybe be able to follow along easily. But if not, yeah, don't worry. Feel free to just skip over this video and get right to the code. So anyway, let's get started. If you go to your browser, which for me is Google, and in your browser, let's search PyCharm, you will see that there is a PyCharm Community Edition, which is free to use. Click on that and follow the link and download. Next, navigate to your Downloads folder and run the PyCharm installer. The default installation folder is fine. The only change I recommend is ticking on to associate.py files with PyCharm. If you finish the installation and tick Run PyCharm, then PyCharm should open for you right now. If you have some default installation settings, you can load them here. If not, click OK. So now PyCharm is open with the Welcome PyCharm window. Open and select Customize, dark or light, depending on your preference. I prefer dark, and the font set to 14. This can be changed later, but it will just help us see the font a little bit easier. And then click on Learn, and if you would like to run through these tutorials, if you've never used PyCharm before, it'll give you a run through of how to use it, the specific short keys, and I highly recommend, as these are really good tutorials that run through the window with you. Next, you can go to Projects, Open, and select the location of your project to save your code. I recommend saving a folder in this location called rigging_tools, done with this icon here, and click OK. Click to trust this project's location. Now in the bottom right of PyCharm, you will see a Python version. If PyCharm found your one, you will see that version there. If it didn't, you will see something like no interpreter or interpreter not found, or maybe an older Python version. But let's click onto that little button down there, and we're going to select Add New Interpreter and then Add Local Interpreter. Here we can select the Python version that we want to use, and you can use a Python version that you have on your system, or I highly recommend for this project using Maya's version, as that's what you'll be using in Maya, so it would align with your development environment. So let's click on the System Interpreter option on the left, and in the box with 3 dots over on the right of the window. I'm on Windows, but I will add the links to the OS paths below. So on Windows, you can go to the C drive, Program Files, Autodesk, Maya 2022, bin, and myapy.exe. And on Linux or Apple, you probably won't see the .exe unless you've specifically set that to show, but this is the file that you need to link to. Now select this and click OK. Now click on the cog in the top right of the window, Settings, and Project Rigging Tools, Python Interpreter. In the drop-down, click on the Show All and select our MayaPy, and rename this with the pencil icon. Call this Maya Python 2022. As if you obviously have multiple Mayas, you might want to specifically say which one it is, and you know which one to use in your development environment. Let's add a file now called init, or a dunder kind of method, essentially, a double underscore init double underscore .py file. If you remember from our Python course, that allows us to tell Python to mark a directory as a Python package. So right click on the folder that you would like the file in, click New, then Python file, and type underscore underscore init underscore underscore and OK. PyCharm will automatically add the .py as we've stated we want a Python file. Next, let's add a Python directory. Right click on Rigging Tools and scroll to New, then Python package, and name this modules, all lowercase. You will see that once we open that modules folder with a little drop-down arrow to the left, the initiate or the init is created for us automatically. Thank you very much, PyCharm. Saved us a little job there. Let's also add another Python file in there called main by going through the same methodology again. Right click and then add Python file. And in this, let's add a doc string with our name, website, and date. With a quick bit of information, and we'll also add a little function that prints hello world too. So we've got def test, open parentheses, colon, and then return, which will give us our 4-space indentation, and then print, open parentheses, open speech quotations, hello world, exclamation mark, and then close quotation marks, close parentheses, and then hit Control and S to save this. Now let's hit the play button in the top right, and you'll see our code ran with no errors as shown in our console at the bottom. If you would like the font to be bigger, let's say you're having trouble reading it, then you can go to Settings, Editor, and Font. And this will make the text easier to read. Okay, note. You can also use the color scheme here to go for high contrast if you're still having trouble reading it, which I will do with slightly larger text as well to make it easier while you're looking at this video. Great. Okay, so we're getting quite far through now. Let's have a little look through what we need to do next. So we need to add our user setup.py file to our Maya installation. Okay, this is a little file that tells Maya some commands that we want to do when Maya loads up. Okay, so let's navigate to your user folder where you will see your default Maya folder within there. For myself, the documents, it is stored within the default documents folder, and this is within C, users, or on the C drive within users, Nix PC, and documents. From there, you go to the Maya folder, 2022, or your version, prefs, and scripts. So in this folder, we need to add a file called user setup.py. This file name will be called every time that Maya starts up and mean that we can add functionality directly to our Maya like we're going to do in this course. So let's right click and create a new file called user setup.py, as I've done here with the S of the word setup in uppercase. And this does have to be spelled exactly like this. If you have all uppercase or all lowercase, just Maya won't look for this or won't find this. If this file now shows you the PyCharm logo, like here, then you can double right click on this file and it will open in PyCharm. If not, then right click on the file, scroll to Open With, choose Application, and select PyCharm to be the default application. Great. Okay, now in your user setup.py file, we need to add a few things. So let's start with the doc string that will inform us of what this file is doing and some other information that might be pertinent if you are working in a group, or if you're, or even for the future self that you are looking back at this. Let's imagine you also had multiple libraries that you wanted to make sure were all being called by specific versions of Maya. This will again give you context of what this is doing. So in my triple quotation mark doc string, I have the author of this file, which is myself, my website, and the date created. But you could quite easily include the links to the docs, the department that monitors this file, the repo address, an email for the point of contact, and any other information that might be useful in your company. Obviously, the more information, the better. You want to make sure that if you're making changes to a file which has a specific author and they're sitting 2 people away from you, it might be worth just chatting to them and asking for context and if there's anything that you need to watch out for, because that will help you going forwards. So next we need to import sys. So the import sys line in Python is used to import the system module, which provides access to the system-specific parameters and functions, allowing Python to interact with both the Python interpreter and your underlying operating system. Next, we will create the variable tools path, uppercase, and set that to equal the string name of our tools folder location, which for me is the D drive, Udemy, and rigging tools. So make sure that if you copy the path over, that you switch out the backslashes for forward slashes. Next, we will use our dot notation and add our code folder to our system paths. So typing sys.path.append, open parentheses, tools path. This next line will stop the PYC files being created every time we run Maya and keep our folder a little bit tidier. So type sys.notation, don't write bytecode equals true. Now tap and hold Control, tap S to save this, and you're all done. Actually, one more thing. If you hold Control and hover the mouse over the tools path variable, this gives us some useful information and also navigates us, if you click, straight to the variable. That's useful, right? There's lots of little things that we can do in PyCharm we can't do as default in Sublime. You can set Sublime up to do some of these things, but you need to go through you need to install a lot of plugins. Let's actually test that our tools path folder is actually being found by Maya right now. Let's load up a new Maya application. A quick note, you cannot simply just open a new scene from within Maya. You must close Maya if you have it open and restart this so that the user setup file, it can be read, as this is only read at startup. Once Maya is loaded and open, in your scripts editor, let's type from modules.main import test. Then on the next line, type test open parentheses, and then highlight this and hit enter. From this printout, we can see our folder is loading and working. So great, let's move on. Amazing, awesome. Lastly, we will need to make sure our Maya dev kit is added. If we look in PyCharm under our test printout in the main and type import Maya commands as m.polycube open parentheses, you will see that there was no prompt when we were typing polycube. And if we hover over the highlighted code, PyCharm does not know this library. It's actually telling us that we have a problem with this. So let's navigate to the developer platform and scroll down the page. I will add the links in the docs to this tutorial, but you can also just Google Autodesk Maya Developer Network. and this should get you to the correct page. So now scroll for me, it's the bottom of the page, scroll down the page and to your version of Maya and download the correct version for you. So for myself, it is Maya 2022 Win64 Dev Kit. In your downloads folder, unzip this folder's contents. And now the contents of this folder need to be added to your application Maya folder on your machine. So on Windows, this was in C Program Files, Autodesk Maya 2022. Let's navigate there now. And I'll also add the links for Apple and Linux machines. So once these are copied over, in PyCharm, open up your settings again. Click on Project Rigging Tools, Python Interpreter. In the drop-down, click Show All. Now, with your Maya Python 2022 highlighted, click on the little folder icon here. Firstly, let's remove Site Packages, or the Site Packages folder, and click Add. Now, navigate into your Maya 22 application folder where we just dragged and dropped our unzipped dev kit. Okay, and so navigate to the C drive, Program Files, Autodesk, Maya 2022, and then the dev kit, Other, Python 2.7, PyMel, Extras, Completion, Py. Then click OK and OK again to go back to your main.py script. And now you should see that everything is actually showing that it works clearly. And in your windows, if you're in your window, you type again, or if you just delete and type again, import maya.commands as m, and then on the next line type m.poly, you'll see you now have a huge amount of information that PyCharm is trying to prompt you for. So we can just type in polycube, and you should see that PyCharm doesn't give us any errors in the code. That's really useful, right? Brilliant. Okay, that is amazing, guys. This is, I'd say, probably one of the hardest bits, just making sure that PyCharm is set up correctly. And for the next bit, we're going to go into all the fun sections of Python. So I think we've just got a few more lectures in this module. And then in our next series of lectures, we will start creating our base class. So thank you so much for listening, everyone, and I will see you in the next lecture.